Hello, world.
Hi, friends. Well, here we are sitting at our table with some dear, dear friends that are from Canada.
Ooh.
And Jordan and Erika Koop have been interning with us for the last 2.5 months, and they are about to go back to Canada. They have not just interned with us, they've actually lived with us with their 4 children, and we have just fallen in love with them. And we wanted tonight to just kind of have some time to break down this experience for them. And so welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Hello, world.
Yeah. And we were talking, even earlier at dinner, just about your, back it up for our listeners. Like, what in the world? How did this come about? And just tell us a little bit
Well, let
of
me
that
mention
story.
real quickly, just so people know, they live 3 streets down from Santa Claus.
I don't know if
So
people
that gives you
appreciate that, honey. They
everybody
think you're
knows where
kidding.
Santa Claus lives.
Let them tell us where they're from.
So they live way up there in northern Canada.
Yes. So tell us who you are.
So we're Jordan and Erika. We live on the second city on the Alaska Highway, which starts in British Columbia, Canada, for those of you who haven't traveled it. And yes, it's right next to Santa Claus. And we decided, after reading the book and implementing a bunch of the tools, we decided to write an email to Dr. Glenn and ask him if we could.
Yeah, we literally were the weirdos. We sent an email, a cold email. We had actually had one session with Dr. Glenn, but we're thinking he doesn't remember us. It was one session. We sent a picture of us. Hey, we love what you guys are doing. We want to be a part of this. Can we come and join somehow? And we're like, we're such weirdos. We're never going to hear back.
I felt a ton of shame that I pressed send, but so much joy that I did. And then we just waited for like a month.
Yeah.
Is it really that long?
I don't know. I thought you did pretty good. I thought a month was pretty good considering who are these crazy people? And we just got an email back saying, what's your phone number? Literally, that's it. And Jordan sends his phone number, and within 2 minutes, we're getting a phone call that says Franklin, Tennessee. And we lost our minds. We were just freaking out. Who are these celebrities calling us?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love these details because I've forgotten all of them. And
Do you know where we were walking?
oh my goodness, we were walking at Preservation Park. Yes. Oh my goodness. I forgot that part too. So, all right. So we got on the phone and asked who you were and what in the world you were thinking. And kind of to speed that part up, because that's not really the whole focus of tonight. But I don't know if it was weeks later or a few months later that you guys flew down here from Canada and without your children and just to get to know us. And what was the motivation behind that?
The motivation behind just visiting you guys, we wanted to see if they were
Crazy.
like crazy people. Like, who would actually invite us to their house?
A crazy person.
We did tell them we had 4 kids. Who would actually invite us to live at their house?
Yeah.
So we needed to really check them out and see if they were crazy.
Yeah, and I was real straightforward with both of you. I just said, you need to see if you like us, and we need to see if we like you. So, because, I mean, as most of our listeners know, I can be a lot. And so I knew that it was important that they had a feel for, oh, okay, this was like to be around Dr. Glenn, not for a session, but like for a life.
Yeah. And, my part of that, just to kind of fast forward to where we've been with you guys, is from the very first time, and even just talking to you before we ever met you, before you guys flew down, but especially after y'all flew down, it was like, to me, there was such a God presence in it and a peace.
Wow.
And it's like he was constantly reassuring me with just tons of joy. Like, I just felt joy about you guys coming and living with us. And even not having met your kids, I just felt peace and joy. And as many of you, our listeners, know that the past month has been incredibly challenging. And even before that, like, I would say before we got the heartbreaking news of our daughter-in-law having to fight for her life at this moment, But before that, even, we didn't realize how much help we needed with Glenn's mom. And to me, it's just such an incredible God story that he knew what we were going to need. And he brought two people who've been such a huge blessing in our lives. And, it's my mother-in-law is going to miss them. Well, especially Jordan. And Jordan is one of those guys who loves old people and will sit with old people and play cards with old people. And
I talk loud enough and slow enough that she can understand me, which so helps.
Yes.
Even though you speak Canadian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
So yes, it's been an incredible journey, but what brought you? Like, why in the world would you pursue this? And what was your thought as far as being here, interning, and has it gone exactly as you thought it would?
It has definitely not gone exactly how I thought it would because I didn't actually know how it would go. It was a big science experiment with us being the science experiment. We had successes with our kids, with our relationship, talking with other people and teaching other people connection codes. We had a lot of successes, but what I needed to see was what's the final goal? What's the 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road? Where are we actually going to be? What might we have lost along the way? Is there something we'll lose that I hold dear now? What will we actually find out that's so much better, so much more rich than what we have just 2 years into the journey?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of fear for us. It was a huge sacrifice and investment. We have 4 kids, and that was going to be no job for 3 months. And so it was a big deal. And you know the saying, never meet your heroes. So we had fear. What is this really going to look like? And what are we going to see? And what are we going to come home with? And I just need all of you guys that are watching this, listening to this, to know that what you see presented in the course and in the book is a phenomenal tool, but actually it still doesn't capture what is demonstrated if you actually live with these people and you watch their lives. That like we can't. The biggest problem of the company of Connection Codes is nobody can figure out how to show this well enough, how actually phenomenal it is. And we are just so blown away, and we are sold out more than we've ever been before, that this really, really works. And it really is such a superior reality to anything we've experienced before, and just so worth it. And these two are the real deal. And if they offer for you to come and be their interns, I swear it's the most worth it thing you'll ever do.
Lucky you.
Oh, wow. Well, we've talked some just about wanting you guys to share some of the story. And even earlier at dinner, I was like, okay, what were the biggest moments? And we have had tons of fun. It's kind of probably not even healthy, because I think I've not slept a whole lot the whole time y'all been here, because we love hanging out, and it's been phenomenal. Really, I feel like we're back in college, let's stay up all night. And then we suffered the next day when we can't function. There's been a lot. I mean, there's been a lot that you've learned about yourself that you didn't even know you were coming here to learn, or the things that have shifted for you. So we could talk about that, or we could also just dive into those moments, right? The moments that have been the most significant for you guys.
I think some of the moments for us, for me personally, is actually just the comfortability we had when we came down to meet you guys without our kids, and we went to Don Arturo's, and we felt like you guys were like parents to us right away.
Wow.
That was crucial, I think, for me and Erika to feel the safety first. That was absolutely crucial. And that set the tone, like, oh, these are real people. They're normal. I mean, they've got their quirks, but they're real people. And
they're talking about you.
I don't think so.
And they care. They care. So that was huge. Another massive moment was actually being in their kitchen when they came home one day and they were in the middle of a huge miss. It was so real and so raw to them, and they processed with us, and we got to actually walk through some of the struggles they were going through. We're part of their coaching cohort. And so we had already been getting lessons from them on how to help a couple who are missing each other. And so we're literally using the tools that they've taught us 3 weeks before, like these punk kids.
Yeah. And just to be invited into that space, I would have expected that they would want to kind of go away and close the door and do that behind closed doors. That was just super powerful for us.
For them not to preserve their, we've came this far and we've defeated so much. We're so connected. We're so powerful in our relationship. And for them to let that facade not exist, because I don't think they ever built up that facade. But as a person who's gone about in the world of sideways walking people so long, I expected the facade. I expected it to come. And for it to just be so raw and so real, and for you guys to partner with us, oh my gosh, absolutely huge. And then vice versa, because in 2.5 months, me and my lovely wife could not manage to not miss each other. So when we're missing each other and I'm locking myself up in the room upstairs, and to hear Glenn just be like, Jordan, come downstairs. Let's talk.
Yeah. You guys want to get through some stuff quickly, move in with a therapist for 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, we were just so struck. I mean, first of all, we felt very safe, connected with you from the very first time that we met you. And this is part of our twofold part of our message with the connection codes. Number one, we're just pilgrims on the journey. We're just like you. We just probably use the tools a little bit better than most. So we're a little further down the trail. But number two is there's no hierarchy. And Jordan and Erika can connection codes coach Phyllis and Glenn, just like Phyllis and Glenn. Again, I would love to think Phyllis and Glenn are a little bit better at it than Jordan and Erika, but it's the same tools. It's not a different set of parameters. You don't do something different. They're literally doing the very things that we taught them to do 3 weeks ago, as Jordan referenced. And I would put that out there too. We need thousands and thousands of connection codes coaches. Every church in the world, every mosque, every synagogue needs a connection codes coach available. Not necessarily on staff. I don't know if every group can handle that, afford that, but to have people that can go and be connection codes coached all the time. And it was amazing. And we've laughed about 1,000 times about that, because Jordan and Erika did an amazing job. They missed on a couple things. We literally later talked it through and graded them on their connection codes coaching.
Surreal.
Which is so many weird dynamics in that. But it was just phenomenal. And just on our side of the table to get to experience that, to be like, this is doable. And we just started our first connection codes coaching cohort. So that's our dream. We're thinking, we want this to expand, to be bigger and to multiply. And then to watch it at our own kitchen table, to be like, dang, these kids are good. This is amazing. And at their age, they're about half our age. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. Where are they going to be by the time they're our age? They will, it's just exponential to the nth degree. But that was just such a gift. And just the way you walked us through it, and you were safe and you were kind and gentle. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. Wow.
If you actually wanted the highlights reel of like the moments in those moments, probably for me, and I know you guys are so vulnerable on the podcast, so I'm free I feel so free to say it. But at one point in time, we're talking with them, and Phyllis is sharing her experience with me and Erika. And at that point in time, she would not or could not, I'm not sure, look at Glenn. So it was so intense for her. And for me to watch Glenn from my outside point of view, to see him, like turned towards her and reaching for her, his hand on her thigh, presenting this so safe person. But to see that Phyllis in that moment was experiencing Glenn as a wolf. And I said to Phyllis, could you tell Glenn what she had just told me in front of Glenn, but could you tell him? And so real and so authentically, she goes, no. And to then watch, not 10 minutes later, her turn towards her partner and to actually connect and to watch the very thing that me and Erika struggled with so many times in our relationship, where we miss and we know the other person is a wolf at that moment. Yeah. And we can't just quite cross the bridge to be vulnerable when the other person is there, and to watch that moment happen. Man.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It was a bit of a emotional roller coaster, though. Like, yes, amazing. But I'll be honest, like for me in that moment, I dealt with a ton of emotion because I was like, hang on a second. This looks exactly like what we do sometimes. And I had a lot of emotion, just had to process a lot of sad that night and a lot of like, hang on, they still do this? I thought that this was going to be fixed. I thought we were going to never, I knew you missed. You were very open about that. But I thought it was going to look different. I thought it wasn't going to be as painful. I thought it wasn't going to be as painful. And to watch it be just as painful for you guys, I was super devastated that night. Wow. And I had to really process that and be like, okay, if I'm actually going to stay open and stay in relationship with this person and keep leaning towards this person, I'm going to still keep experiencing pain. But on the other hand, the next day I just thought, wow, I trust them so much more. I trust them so much more than I did yesterday, because I know that they're 100% authentic. They're 100% real with us. We get to see them all the way. And I just have to say, like, my big takeaway of this whole thing is you want to see people reach their full potential. You want to see somebody unfold. Wow. There's nothing more beautiful than that. The safety that it requires. But like, we, for the first time in our lives, are experiencing a totally safe environment. And for me to get to watch Jordan unfold in this totally safe environment, and I would say for you the same way, that's my takeaway. I am so fired up about how do I be safe, because I want to watch people unfold in front of me. There's just nothing more amazing. There's nothing more beautiful. And we have got to figure that out. Yeah. We've got to figure out how to be safe for people to just unfold themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially to be safe with them after. Certainly what I experienced and what virtually everybody I know experienced was they would miss on something. And I'm talking about when they're 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, whatever. They would miss on something and they were quote unquote loved up until that point. Wow. And then they miss on something with their 12 and the parents chew them out, whatever. And then the relationship is changed. And now this 12-year-old doesn't feel loved, doesn't feel valued. And I think, and with either one of you, I think there were times where there were misses and we identified misses. And my sense, I don't even know if I've said this to you, but my sense was that you were anticipating a shift in the relationship over the next whatever hour, the next 6 hours, the next day. And I don't think that ever happened, where you were just like, oh, they still like us. They still love us. Yeah. They're still our friends. And again, I have no idea what might have been happening inside of you, but quite possibly you're thinking, well, okay, well, that was a good, 3.5 weeks. And I guess we'll be asked to leave tomorrow. And to realize, no, that didn't change anything. We adore you as much, if not more now, because we have that interaction, not in spite of it. We're not just being polite, nice people. I don't have any hesitation to go, oh, dude, you have some spaghetti sauce on your face. You missed it. And that doesn't mean I treat you less than. And again, my experience in my life, Phyllis' experience in her life was that, oh, no. You're on the downward slope once something's identified that you missed on that. You were wrong on this. And the relationship dissolved very quickly. And that was our dream, was that you didn't experience that. That you're just like, oh, the relationship is completely solid and dependable and stable and safe. And they can point out the spaghetti sauce on our face and it doesn't affect at all our interaction over the next, whatever, hour, 6 hours or a day or so.
So after Glenn and I had that big miss with each other, and y'all saw the heightened emotion, and then we had that moment, which you got to witness, where we found each other again in front of y'all. It was already late, I'm sure. That was our habit anyway. But I remember kind of once we found each other, we were like, okay, we're good. We're done. Like there's not anything more that needs to be said. We're going to now go to bed. Y'all go to bed. And I just remember the next morning. Do y'all remember the next morning?
Tell us. I want
sure.
to know what you're remembering.
Okay, so y'all were already up, which was normal before I would come out of my room. And I came out to the kitchen and you both were there, but you were like kind of quiet. And it was like, at least you told me later, like y'all felt fear in checking on me, or felt fear in even bringing up last night. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like there was some
actually,
fear.
now that you said that, I think I was feeling fear that you would regret that we saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember that because y'all were sitting in the sunroom. And so I walked through the kitchen to the sunroom, but y'all, neither one of you said, you said good morning, but you didn't say anything about like what would have been normal to me would have been, man, for y'all to have said like, hey, what's happening this morning? Like, how did y'all sleep? And you acted like you didn't even like you didn't even know what to say. So you only said good morning, and y'all are not quiet people. And so I'm immediately going, okay, this is weird. What? Like, And so then I don't know if I said what's happening, or if I just said something like, thank you for last night. But somehow I opened the door.
You did, definitely.
And then y'all were both like, oh, whew, good. We get to talk about this. Like, that was so intense. But y'all were surprised that we would want to, like, I guess what you're just saying is that you were so fearful that we would regret it, that we would come out and be like, let's pretend like that didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
And I can't believe y'all witnessed that.
Yeah. And don't bring up our shame again.
Yeah. Right. And that was a really cool moment because even in kind of breaking that down, you kind of shared like you've never seen leaders or people you admire or whatever be that transparent and then not be awkward about it.
And just I would not even be not even that transparent in the first place.
I would say more than transparent, like it was ugly.
Oh yeah. I was pretty.
And in that moment, you're like, I witnessed them, as Glenn would say, vomit on the table. Like it was gross. It stunk. And then the next day you're like, you don't want to mention that. Like last night, you vomited all over the table. And we were kind of there helping with the cleanup. And so for me, it was like, oh, nobody mentions the vomit from last night. Like, you just sweep that under the rug. Again, be surprised by like, nope, that's us. That's the real deal. And also for them going forward to expect the same of us. Like, no, we're going to see your vomit. You're going to vomit on the table.
Sure did.
Yes. Which is another highlight moment for us that we could talk about.
Yeah, and I have to throw in the one thing because it was weird and awkward, but so beautiful. Because and I adore Jordan, but I'm slightly throwing him under the bus here. But these remarkable Connection coaches, Erika and Jordan, had gotten this couple, the clients, to turn to each other to connect. And so we're looking at each other eye to eye, we're touching, and then Jordan goes, may I add one more thing there? And Phyllis goes, no. And so when we were giving them their report card later, we're like, dude, what do you do? Just get up and leave. It doesn't even matter. You've accomplished your mission. Your goal is to get them to connect with each other. And again, Jordan has such an incredible heart that he just wants to throw in that one more extra helpful thing. And it's like, no. Your job is done here. Your mission is complete. So just, walk away. And literally, if Erika and Jordan had stood up and walked away at that moment, their job was done. And it was just so cute. Phyllis said, no, you cannot mention one more thing. And because now she had bonded with me.
Right.
So now Jordan is unwelcome, unwanted, and his one last nugget of wisdom was not appreciated. It was just an amazing moment.
Like Glenn always says, you could be absolutely right and absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And no one actually can remember what that nugget of wisdom was.
It's lost forever.
It's completely lost. I'm sure it was pure gold.
Mankind. Yeah. Oh,
But it was 100% at the wrong time. They were connecting with each other and step aside. Like it's good. They're connecting.
Wow.
They're regarding each other, turning towards each other. And it was, a magical moment I just wanted to intrude on.
Rush us on, right?
Let me go ahead and do that little plug that these two, we're wrapping up the Connection Codes coaching cohort, the first ever, and these two are going to be on the website and available, and you need to utilize them. They're just amazing and wonderful and beautiful in so many ways.
Joy.
And just we very much sense, and they're abandoning us in a couple of days and headed back to Santa Claus's neighborhood. But we very much believe we'll be involved with them the rest of our lives together. And someday they will be training Connection Codes coaches, the next generation, and taking it to the world. So don't hesitate to reach out and get connected with them.
And we promise we won't rush you. We learned that lesson.
Yes.
Okay, I might slip up.
Jordan will shut up when it's time to shut up.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. There's been a lot of practice. You don't live in this house without a lot of practice. Even for me, early on, we learned being in this house that I wasn't super tuned into me, but you can't be not tuned in. I remember Jordan had gone to Costco for groceries and Phyllis asked me, so what happens for you when Jordan goes? Like, are you joy that you're not going or sad that he's the one doing it and you'd like to be the one kind of doing it? And I'm thinking, what does my feelings have to do with anything? It just made sense.
Wow.
And just to have people asking me what's happening for me all the time. Like, I just was like, I didn't think my feelings had anything to do with it. That has been a wild, wild ride.
That has been an absolute takeaway, the power of the phrase, what's happening for you? And not just when it's a cycle is speeding up. Not then. It's every day. We've gotten to watch Glenn and Phyllis, and you'll be talking with Glenn, having a beautiful conversation with him, receiving identity.
You could be telling him your life's thesis.
Yes. And Phyllis will walk in the door and he will hop up and run away and
Mid-sentence.
abandon you to lose all the identity. But he is going to find the one person in the world he cares most about. And like you hear it every time. What's happening with you, babe?
Oh, I have to go find my girlfriend. He always says
My
that.
cutie's here. And just gone. Glenn is gone to find out what's happening with his girl. And to watch that over and over and over again. And I'm like, shoot, fire. I've got to be doing this. Like, I'm doing this all wrong. My girl walks in the room and I'm like, oh, but I don't want, the person I'm talking to lose a little bit of identity. No, she's the one I married.
Yeah.
She's my girl. And I need to actually use the power of what's happening.
Yeah.
And just to watch that over and over again with Glenn and with Phyllis every day, 10 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I try to always emphasize that I don't do that trying to set an example. It is organic. It is within me.
Wow.
I mean, I adore Jordan and Erika, and I'd say to them verbally, I literally say, you don't mean that much to me. You're going back to Canada. I may never see you again. So I really don't care that much in relationship to Phyllis. She's so much more valuable to me. And side note, but the whole parenting thing, I missed a ton of things as a parent, so I don't hold myself up as an example. But one of the things I did well, I told my children, I don't remember, probably a mentor told me to do this, but I told my children at early age, probably 3 or 4 years old, I began verbalizing to them. I said, look, you are not the priority. You are not number one. Your mom was here long before you were, and she'll be here long after you're gone. So you do not matter in comparison to her. And my 4 adult children, and it's amazing having adult children, because you get to have conversations with them about their experience. And all 4 of them had said, that was so valuable to me, Dad, because I knew I wasn't the center of the universe. I knew that there was an underlying structure to our home that I could depend on because Mom mattered to you more than I did. And I remember at the time with my peers, they say, oh, no, children are the priority. Children are number one. Yeah, with sinking ships and fires, I get that. Get the kids out first. But in life, no, your children are not the priority, and they need to know that. You need to actually verbalize to them, hey, your mom matters a lot more to me than you do. I'm here for you. I'm going to be available for you, but mom is number one, and vice versa, for the mom to convey that as well. And I think you got that sense.
Yeah.
That Phyllis matters to me a lot more than you
over and over again, which was all right. I'd just lose some identity and I'd process that out. And it was good. And it was so valuable for me to know that over and over again. And I mean, he never said in those words that Phyllis is so much more valuable. I mean, I didn't hear it. Maybe he did say it, but I didn't hear that. But I witnessed it time and time again.
Yeah. Sometimes we say our spouses are number one or our most valuable, but our actions actually show they're the ones that are always going to be there. So
I can treat them
I can actually show the most politeness to other people.
Wow.
Because I can explain it to them later.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, goodness.
So in the time that we've been together, have we had any relational bumps between you guys and us?
Surely not.
None.
Next
Surely you're not referring to the largest of these bumps that we have had.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, where do we start?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your version.
So
Let's do 4 different versions. They'll be wildly different. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So one of the things that was a pain point for me living with Glenn and Phyllis is they live life at 1,000,000 miles an hour and their schedule changes during the 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it's like traveling down the interstate and taking an immediate left turn at 90 degrees while still maintaining
90 miles an hour.
90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a painful experience. Not that I didn't agree with the change in direction. It's just the abrupt shift in direction was a pain point for me. And I think I experienced that maybe 2 weeks into being at their house where the joy of just being at their house had worn off and the pain had surfaced to a noticeable level for me. And I did not verbalize that because to say a need to somebody other than my wife seemed foreign to me, or that I would burden them with my pain points. And for the next month, I think I felt that pain further and further and tried to process it out with my wife, but never told Glenn and Phyllis.
And for a while, we weren't quite at the right pain point.
Right. I didn't quite know what the pain point was. And so I couldn't say, I don't think I said the right words to Erika to actually process what was really happening. I don't think we got to my core. One, because I didn't want to get there. Even when Erika asked, I didn't want to get there. That just felt ugly. But eventually the dam piled up and it started to get ugly. And one morning, I can't remember exactly what the schedule change was.
Well, no, it was because we started having a miss. And our miss was kind of just came about after this dam's kind of bursting. Jordan's pain points that he's sharing to me. So then after 2 hours on the couch, Glenn joins us and is like, okay, guys, like what is happening? And that's when this kind of pain point surfaces. And Glenn's like, this sounds like it's between me and you. What are the two of you doing? How come we haven't heard about this? Guilt for me, because as he's processing the pain points, I'm encouraging him to tell them. And he's wanting to tell them, but we have so much fear because we've never walked this out before. Well, and so
it's like too authentic.
Yeah. And like we're in their space. We're here to be valuable to them. And if we become too high maintenance, we will lose our value to them. And so both of us, just our fears around that kept kind of being like, oh, we know that we need to be authentic here about this pain point. But wow, how do we say it just right? And how do we do it just right? So in order to get it just right,
we spent another 2 weeks not saying it because we had realized it, but then, oh no, we have to say it perfectly. We have to wait and have the perfect moment with the perfect words. and then you can be authentic. You can't be authentic.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give
You
y'all.
can't vomit on the table.
I'm just going to give y'all. Can I just have a moment from my Tennessee? A hint, just say it. Just say it authentically if we've learned anything in this process. But in the end, because Erika and Jordan are refusing to share this, then Glenn had kind of shared a little bit with Phyllis. And so then we start trying to talk about it. Well, then I'll just, the details are going to get a little bit muddled, but long story short, Erika's sobbing in the kitchen and Jordan's trying to listen. And Phyllis keeps saying, what is happening for you, Erika? And I kept talking about all Jordan's emotions. She's like, I get that. But what's happening for you? And I really didn't know what was happening for me. But it took me some time to figure it out. But it was like, I needed them to like me. And I knew if I wasn't useful, and if I was high maintenance, then they wouldn't. I knew it. But I needed them to like me. Yeah. And if Jordan was high maintenance, and so, wow, that was seriously, all four of us in the kitchen and Erika's sobbing and we're missing each other. And wow.
I think one of my huge takeaways out of that was, there was two. One was that I'm so allergic to actually verbalizing the fourth phrase, what do I need? I was so allergic to saying, what do I need? Because then I would be high maintenance or undesired. And I got the opposite message from Phyllis because she goes, I think, and I don't want to misquote you, but I think you said, it hurts that you didn't tell me. And that was just so, like, to hear her say, you weren't authentic with me, and I'm hurt about that. That's just so the opposite reaction that I thought I was going to get when I actually verbalized a pain point. And then on top of that, twice as scary as verbalizing a pain point was saying, I have a need, I think. And for her to say it hurt that you didn't tell me that was just, that was a moment that I will remember for the rest of my life, that I can hurt other people because I'm not authentic and I won't share my needs with them. I won't share my pain points. I won't share what hurts for me. That can hurt other people. And that shook me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember standing in the kitchen. Glenn had a session, which was kind of like, do y'all remember this?
Yeah.
He had
Erika's
5
standing there
minutes.
just weeping. And
Yes,
I'm
he
like,
had-
got a session.
But no,
see you later.
no, worse than that. You started the conversation knowing that you had 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Wait, Glenn didn't handle time management
oh
well?
my
That's a
word.
shocker.
And so it was like, I don't even know what you said. You said something really hurtful.
Dropped a bomb and ran away.
Yes, he did. Do you remember what he said? Like, y'all don't have to.
I think he said, I thought you were going to do projects and you don't have to. I don't know. It was something like that.
Something, but it was really not well worded. And even I felt pain in how he worded it. And then he goes, I got to leave. I got to go to a session.
And Erika's just bawling.
And I'm standing there. Erika is crying.
That's from Dumb and
then,
Dumber, in case you're wondering.
I think, Jordan, you were not crying. You were just like, stiff. And then the funniest moment to me was Glenn's mother comes shuffling out of her room with her rocker.
forgot about that.
Is that what they're called? Rocker?
Walker.
Her walker. And Erika is crying and Jordan is stiff. Glenn has just exited the scene and she comes in and never does this. She sits. She pulls a chair over.
I forgot about that.
Sits down. And the moment was so intense that I wasn't going to stop talking and you aren't going to stop crying. And
the funny thing is she can't understand when we're talking.
She can't hear a thing.
So she just listened to us.
Yes. She just sat there awkwardly as Erika's crying.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And then I kept, because I did ask you what's happening for you, and you kept talking about Jordan's pain in the scheduling and how chaotic it is. And I said, yeah, I hear that. I get that. I get his pain, but what is yours? And I think you said I asked you 5 times because I knew there was something way deeper.
And honestly, in the end, I think you still just said, can I guess? Because I just wasn't getting there.
And it's always dangerous to conjecture someone else's experience and emotion. But I could just, I don't know, sense it. I could tell that what it was for you was the fear of losing our friendship and the fear of just that, the breaking of the relationship. And I knew that wasn't about to happen over anything, and especially not that. It was just such a beautiful and powerful moment because, yes, for me, the pain was, I cannot believe Jordan didn't tell us that our schedule is too chaotic. And what's interesting is because once you were able to share what your real pain was, which was fear of losing the connection, losing the relationship, then you actually said, I love y'all's chaotic life. I just, I thrive. But you, I believe, did not feel permission or allowed to think differently than your husband. It was almost like, well, whatever his pain point is, that's what I have to stand behind.
Yeah.
And that is a conversation you and I have had and definitely have lived there with Glenn where his pain point then just becomes mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that then turns into conflict, which is what happened to the two of you. You started fighting with each other. You started having misses. And because you shared this even, because then every time I said, hey, can we run to Home Depot to get something?
Right. Me and you.
Right.
Yeah.
What would happen to you when I would say that? Like, hey, can we run to...
Which is what actually that morning you said, hey, can you go with me? Well, I felt joy to go with you, but immediately flooded with fear about the pain he's going to experience that now I'm no longer staying and now I'm going to go do something else.
But she can't tell that to her because it's my pain that I haven't told. And
Moral of the story.
Yeah, let's say the moral of the story.
Convey emotion authentically in the moment.
With the person that you experience the pain with. And, that's in therapy, it's what we call triangulation. You're creating a triangle. That's what was happening. And it's pretty standard. It's not like, Jordan and Erika invented some, dysfunctional thing. People do it all the time. Jordan's experiencing pain. So he goes, and Jordan's experiencing pain with Phyllis or with Phyllis and Glenn, whatever. And he goes and talks to Erika about it. It's like, well, wait, what? Now what's Erika going to do? Come to talk to Phyllis and Glenn and complete the triangle, which is incredibly dysfunctional. So they went through, I don't know how many days of doing that.
Too many.
And it doesn't solve anything. It's not that whenever Jordan shared that pain experience that he was having with the hills with Erika, it's not that it solved it at all. And once that day, and also, and we talked about that in that moment, that doesn't mean Phyllis and Glenn are going to do anything differently. We still go 90 miles an hour and we still make right angle turns at 90 miles an hour. So, and we talked about that in the moment. It's like, we'd love to be able to say to you it's going to change. It's probably not. I mean, in all truth, but Jordan just needed to process the pain.
Which was a big part of the fear for us is we felt fear that if we convey the emotion to you, that is, we're asking for a change because we just underestimated your ability to hold space for our emotion. And that's something that we haven't experienced yet. So we're feeling all this fear of, we know it's not doable for you to change your schedule. So if we convey pain around it, all of a sudden there's this immovable block between us instead of just process it. And that is all he needed. We are still just running around with a weird schedule.
And honestly, the pain for me had escalated each time I added and didn't process. And now I don't think I've had any pain about their schedule right turning since I said it to them. Shocker. Why didn't I do that a month before? But I needed to actually realize that. I needed to realize that. I needed to actually, I would say I needed to watch Phyllis's pain on her face. I needed to see it be painful for her. I needed to watch that expression on her face where I caused her pain because of my inauthenticity.
Wow.
And that was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. I am not going there. With this person who is safe with me, I will be vulnerable. That was something it broke something in me. It was one of the lessons that coming here brought me.
Wow.
Yeah. And just on that note, like we had before we came here, watched podcasts, read the book, did the foundations multiple times, did late nights, did the parenting course. Connection
Taught
Codes is meant to be experienced. And so you have to just start doing it with the people around you, or you're not going to understand how well it really works.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for hours, and we are trying to be really intentional not to do that. But maybe you could share another really sacred moment. And that was the moment that I got the phone call from our son that our daughter-in-law had cancer. Can you remember that moment? Y'all were sitting in the sunroom and I walked outside.
Wow, we were actually in our Connection Codes cohort Zoom call at the time. And Phyllis had gotten a call and had walked outside the house, and we could see her walking around in the driveway. And Erika noticed, I think it was you that noticed, just there was a noise made, like a wail or something. And then I had watched Phyllis kind of double over while holding the phone.
Yeah. And we weren't totally sure. We were like, is that what just happened, or did she pick something up? But enough for us to start paying attention and really keeping an eye on her.
Right. And so for the next 30, 40 seconds, I watched Phyllis while kind of paying attention, and to watch her. And I'm like, oh no, something's bad. And then to watch her body language as you hear the sound, of a wail. And it wasn't, 40 seconds later, maybe a minute later, and she comes through the garage doorway. And the first people she sees in her physical life was us sitting in the sunroom, and Erika and me both hop out of the love seat immediately, and Phyllis just falls into our arms. And in that moment, to realize that when you are so authentic with what's going on for your own self, you're going to experience the highs, and you are going to have to experience the lows. And to watch her experience that low, and to have that as an embodied experience and not a disembodied experience where she's blank, but to be so in that moment and to fall into our arms, and then to know that she's like, I have to co-regulate immediately. This is too big for me.
Wow.
I have to co-regulate now.
Yeah.
That was just sacred.
I always believed that really powerful people actually had good mind over body control and good mind over lots of willpower, and they were the ones that got up and actually they had control over their body, control over their urges, control over their emotions. And those were the people that got a lot done in the day. And watching Phyllis, that could not be farther from the truth. There is nobody that I know that gets more done than this woman right here. And just to watch her honor her emotions, honor her body, honor what she needs, and feel it fully. And then she has these cycles. I mean, that night when they came home again, we had moments of joy and moments of laughing and moments of intense sadness. And I'm thinking, this is what a healthy human being looks like.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, and for me, because I remember you saying later that you didn't think I would let you into that sacred space.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even understand what you were saying. And you just said, well, I've never seen it. I've never seen someone be that raw and real. And I think to you guys, you kind of thought, well, even with our coaching cohort, I think everybody thought we would just quit in that moment, not come back, not be able to do both. And I think about that just over the last few weeks. To me, that is, wow, that's the power of when you just live authentically.
Wow.
Yeah.
you can go through horrific moments. And I feel like I cry all the time. I get it out. I then can show up in these other spaces and still be who I am. And with our cohort, we also are able to cry with them. I can get on camera and I can cry. Even today we were in a session. I was talking about just a God moment I had yesterday where I felt this panic, this like, I've got to let everyone know that they need to be praying for Megan. And if I miss telling someone, then that one prayer that's not going to get prayed is going to be the doom of the whole situation. And it's like this, every prayer warrior, every prayer chain, every group, I need everyone praying for a miracle for my daughter-in-law. And it was like God just put his arms around me and brought this incredible peace. And he said, I only need to hear from you.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my word. And so in session today, I shared that with a couple that are, clients of ours. And as I share it, I, of course, begin to cry. And then she begins to really, really cry. And part of why I even went there with this couple was because too often their struggle is really with God. Like it comes out in the conflict they have with each other, but really it's their own faith journey, their own not understanding how much God loves them.
Wow.
And so they kind of think, well, I'm not worthy of God's love. And so I'm sure I'm not worthy of your love. And so that was kind of the road we were on in that moment. And so then I shared that. But I just think that is not who I am typically. I would say everybody goes, oh yeah, Glenn cries. He's the crier. Like he's always been that guy, no matter how long you've known him. And I'm not that. And yet at this moment in my life, I'm just so thankful that I can be authentic and real. And are there a few people I don't feel safe with to be that raw and real? Sure, there are a few. But I would say I am surrounded by people where I can just be who I am, which if in this moment it's so much and I'm going to cry, then I'm just going to cry and let you see me in that moment.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify the one thing because my fear is that what people hear from that is, oh, Phyllis is just grinding her way through it. She's so strong. She's so powerful. She's so capable, so functional that, she just ignores that stuff. She pushes it aside. She suppresses it and she's just gritting through it and getting stuff done. And I don't know what the opposite would be, but it's almost the opposite of that. No. She is in the moment. I mean, we have had such ridiculous moments of laughter and giggles. And it's like, how can you possibly have this laughter and giggles during this time? Well, that's because we're in the moment. And when she gets hit, and it's true for both of us, when we get hit with sadness, we cry. Whenever we get hit with fear, we can process the fear. Whenever we get hit with whatever it is, we process that. And then we're able to do the powerful thing, but not in spite of the painful experience, but through the painful experience. And that's my great fear is that people think, oh, well, that person's so strong, like they weren't even fazed by this horrible thing that happened. And it's not that at all.
Wow.
We actually exist in the moment. We process through what's happening in the moment. And then we're able to do the next thing that's in front of us, which does not mean that we won't be in tears again in 25 minutes. We may be. And if we are, so be it. It doesn't matter. We're going to be authentic in the moment.
So good. Well, as you guys know, we end every podcast.
Okay, so can I say one more thing?
Whoa.
Because I just wanted to touch on so much of what we've seen with the two of you is you being able to relax into yourselves. I've seen the authentic Jordan just... I don't know what you want to call it, bubble to the top, where it's like, oh, there he is. I knew he was in there somewhere. There he is. And to see the authentic Erika, and again, as Phyllis shared, so much of the time, say, so what's happening with you? Well, Jordan is this and this and this. We're like, wait, what? And we're like, yeah, we hear that, but what's happening with you? Oh, well, Jordan said this morning that, and we're like, wait, how? And that was just the standard.
Yeah.
And, and for who knows what all variety of reasons, variables, factors led to that in you. And seeing you relax into the authentic Erika, develop Erika's voice has been just thrilling to see. And at times a little bit odd for Jordan because he's like, wait a minute, who's this person? Because Jordan's such a big personality, which there's an upside and a downside to everything. There's an amazing part of that, and there's a downside to it. And he was not, I'm speaking for you, which is so dangerous, but he was not used to this partner, this equal participant in life, which therefore means each scene. And so whenever she rose into herself, there were numerous times I would say that I was watching you and he's going, wait, what, who's this? What's happening here? I don't think we've met. And it's been such a beautiful thing because that multiplies the power of your coupleship when it's not Jordan, the wonderful, exciting presence in the room. Oh yeah. And Erika's here too. But now it's a partnership. It's both of you. You're very, very different. You have very different skill set. And that makes you more powerful when you're partnered, not whenever it's and I only say this because the two of you certainly know, for so many years it was the Glenn show and then Phyllis, she's here somewhere and she's in the background. She barely exists. And as she has become a real person, it has multiplied our powerfulness because now we're very much partners and she exists as a real person, which is spectacular.
Wow.
On that note, if I was to actually just jump into the wheel,
that'd be great.
My great shame is that for so long, it has been the Jordan show. And my wife has just been so tuned into me at all times. And I like that. I wanted it that way. And the sadness in that is that my wife disappeared. The girl I married got less and less until I'm like, she just disappeared. I mean, I got this great, servant-hearted wife.
Wow.
But she's gone. So that's like a shame and a great sadness for me that I spent a decade, on the Jordan show. And one of the great joys, conversely, is that as my wife has been pestered time and time again, what's happening with you? What's happening with you? Every moment of the day, my great joy is that she's showing up more authentically in the areas in our lives that are so vulnerable, like our sex life. She's her. And that's 10 times better than everything before because she's her. And so that's my great joy, just getting to know my wife as her authentic self bubbles to the top. One of my anger points that makes me want to get bigger is that I've taken over so many rooms in the past.
Wow.
That I've come into a room and been like, I'm going to just change this entire environment. I have anger with myself. Like I've got to change that and get curious about other people.
Wow.
And so that's like I've got to power up and get these tools right. I have a lot of lonely in just the marriages. When I think about the marriages that need to experience this, and I think I'm finally experiencing Glenn's lonely, where it's like we've got this thing we've got to bring to the world. We're going to change the world, and I'm kind of finding like, we need more people in connection coaches, cohorts. And that's really hitting me hurt. I definitely hurt for all the times I've, again, just made my wife disappear. I hurt. I think like I feel hurt that I lost my wife. I didn't go out and find her. And that's hurt myself. Not only has it hurt her, but it's actually hurt myself. And it feels selfish to actually say that. I feel guilt. Saying that, but that is my experience. It hurts me. It just hurts. And my fear, I have a little bit of fear going back to Canada and leaving this rich environment where I've been fed into so much, just walking, talking, living, breathing the connection codes through and through every day. I have fear to go back to Canada.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you.
Joy, my wheel is definitely around just us leaving. Joy, just to see how far we've come, even to think back to the your miss. That was pretty early on. And think about who we were there and how I processed that. Like, I just feel totally different people.
Wow.
So much joy. So much joy to watch you unfold. Anger. Oh, just anger that as a macro whole, we are just not safe. Just anger that we cannot figure out how to be safe for people to show up as their authentic selves. Like, it just, why is that so hard? Shame that I still just have trouble conveying authentically. Just in the moment to just say the feeling, like, and not justify it, not explain it.
Oh, yeah.
Guilt. I'm still struggling with slowing down all the way with our kids, 4 of them. It just feels like life moves so fast, and slowing down just feels real hard. I think lonely a little bit in being here with you guys and the other cohort. It just feels like this bubble of connection coders where the connection's so deep. And so it's almost like future lonely of being back home where less, just the language is spoken less. We are working on it. We have friends that are getting there, but just some
Precious
lonely in
friends.
that. Yeah. Wow. So much sad to be leaving. So much sad to be leaving just these parents that we've gained. And I don't even think that that's fully hit me all the way, but there's so much sadness in that. So much sadness to just think that you aren't just going to be there at night. And it actually hurts. This sounds ridiculous, but I feel hurt that I haven't just lived with this. I feel hurt that my parents didn't know how to do this. And that, I mean, and it's not their fault. They didn't know how to do this, but I feel a bit hurt that I didn't just grow up in this environment. Fear. I think I feel fear that it's going to be hard to maintain this connection, the connection that we have with you guys, the relationship that we have.
Ditto.
Distance makes it hard. Yeah.
Wow. Was that all 8? Man, that was fast.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, thank you guys so much for this episode, just to share your experience. We love you dearly, and I've already cried buckets about you guys leaving. So I feel that it's almost a physical pain, hurt, thinking about it. So, but wow, bright connection codes can take people really deeply and really far. Yeah. And we do all this.
Well, I do want to say that this is working. It's changing the world.
Yeah.
Please get on this train. We're rolling. It's all of our trains. We're not the inventors. We're not the creators of the connection codes. We found it. We discovered it. We swept it in a pile and put a name on it. But we just beg you, plead with you, challenge you. Let's get this train rolling all around the world, because you need this.
You deserve this. So let's do this.
Let's do this.